everybody. Welcome to the Punch Up Pod with Lila and Pat. It's been 2 weeks. We've missed you all. Hello.
2 whole weeks without my opinion and yours. I mean, how did they ever survive?
How did they make it through? It's crazy. Luckily, nothing's happened in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah. Well, they had to rely on the other grifting podcasters. So
yes.
I hope they led you in the right direction.
But we're very happy to have you all back here. Pat, how's your 2 weeks been?
I had a good 2 weeks. I'm not gonna lie, I enjoyed the break. It's always nice. No, I mean, not from you. It's not you, it's me, Lila. It's not you, it's me.
That's crazy. Just right out in the open like that.
No, it's nice to follow politics just a little bit less occasionally. I mean, we all need a break, and I still tweeted. I still checked the news. I ended up watching The View today. I mean, awful things have happened in my life here.
Yeah, that sounds crazy.
But let's see what. Oh, I joined the gym. I mean, I'm back in the gym. I've been in the gym, but I actually went to it for the first time. So that's something.
That is a hopeful sign, not because I think you need to go to the gym, but because that means that you are planning on living a nice long life and having a future. And there's sometimes I don't feel so positive about it.
Or just dying of COVID faster. That's the trade-off I made after 2 years of not going, working out.
Right.
Is like, okay, I have the nice thing is I have the liberty of having a plethora of K95 masks so I can work out safely. I have the masks. My gym is very spread out. It's a 3-story building, so there's plenty of space. I would not recommend any gym that doesn't have something like that because because most people there aren't wearing a mask. They're there for your health, and yet not.
COVID's over. It doesn't matter. Yeah,
it is over.
It's over. Well, good for you. I have not been to a gym in 2 years. I've started doing that sort of like older lady thing of walking. I get it. I walked 2 miles today. I used to do Barry's boot camp 4 to 5 times a week. Like I felt like I was dying. And now I'm like, it's a brisk walk. That'll do.
Yeah. I mean, it's good to get out there and do something. I would avoid it and do some healthy like running or something, but I can't run. My knee just won't let me run. So it's like I have so few options to get healthy, and it's just lifting some weights is the only thing that seems to do it. But
well, good for you. I'm impressed.
I'm such a hero.
Well, so we're so excited today to be welcoming Aarika Rhodes, who is running an insurgent candidacy against my rep, Brad Sherman. And I met her because she came to deliver a lawn sign to my house a couple weeks ago, early on a Sunday morning, like 11:30. And I had to quickly run out and say hi. And it turns out that the person who was shooting the video of her is also a DP director guy who had done Gary Chambers' video that we showed a few weeks ago where he smokes a big fat blunt. So that was cool. And we were so excited, and she's lovely. So this is my long way around to saying we are having some technical difficulties on Aarika's end, and we are trying hard to get her back on here. But I think what we should probably do is just start because there's a lot to cover. And then when we
I thought you were going to say stall. We should stall.
I mean, we could stall. We have so much fun stuff to get to.
I forgot how was your break? We didn't even get into any of that.
Okay, look at that. She's there. Okay, should we test it out?
Does that mean we don't have to hear about your week?
Wow, that's the second one, Pat. You get one more, and I'm out of here. All right, let's introduce Aarika. First with her campaign video, and then we'll have her come on the show.
My name is Aarika Rhodes, and I am running to represent California's 30th Congressional District in 2022. And we have a new vision for our community. Visit congress.com to join our movement and become a $10 recurring donor.
All right. Oh,
Oops.
Pat, you just got rid of me. That's the
I
third
removed
one.
you. Three strikes.
Erica.
Hi. Hi. Thank you for having me.
We're so excited to have you here. Is there a chance that your YouTube is on?
It's not.
Okay.
Do you want me to have it on?
No.
No.
Do you happen to have headphones? Because it's echoing back through your speakers to the mic.
Okay, hold on.
This is when we always hire our PA.
Is this better?
We don't have a PA.
Is this better?
Let's see.
Can you? There is definitely an echo chamber.
Let's see.
Is that better?
I don't know.
No.
Is this better? Is this better?
No.
Let's see.
Testing?
No. Yeah, I hear you. But are you hearing this echo?
No.
Let's see.
No. Okay. What do we do? It's like everybody who had too much to drink and we're hearing double.
Do you have a set of headphones you could plug in directly?
I don't, and the reason is my cat just literally it sounds so weird, but he literally chewed them up, so I don't have because I have an older computer, so I don't have like the headphones that I would need for this one. I don't have.
Okay.
So here's what I'll do. When we're done talking, I will keep you muted until you talk, and then that way, or you can mute yourself like that, because that's perfect. That is working great. And
yeah. Sorry.
Please feel free to interrupt and talk over me at all times.
Yes,
I have nothing important to say. We want to hear from you.
Dang, that's horrible. I feel like we're corporate media. Like we're silencing you until we're like, okay, you can talk now. But wait, are you able to make yourself talk?
Yep. Can you hear me?
Okay.
That works.
Awesome. All right. Well, so we're going to start over. Hi, and welcome to the show. We're so happy to have you on. I was telling everybody that I met you. For me, it was early on a Sunday morning, but it was like 11:30. I just was still like drinking coffee and getting in Twitter fights in my bed. And it was so fantastic to meet you and the crew you brought with you. And why don't you tell us something about yourself and why you are running for California District 32?
Thank you. And it was so lovely meeting with you as well. You're so nice. And thank you for taking a yard sign.
I love it.
So my name's Aarika, and I am an elementary school teacher. And for me, I decided to run because I was just sick of the failed leadership. And you reach a point when you can't even get on a newsletter, like, things are bad. And so I decided to just like have a family meeting, talk to my parents to make sure I had their support, because if you run for office, it affects everybody in your life. And everyone was on board. Everyone was willing to make the sacrifices. And so then we started our campaign. And when we were designing our campaign, it was meant to be about everyday people, elevating young people, fighting for meaningful solutions, bringing people together, finding common ground, and just really showing a new way of governance, which was like through community service, through, showing up, talking to people, even if you don't agree with them. And just because for me, I'm done holding signs. I'm done sitting on corners. I want legislation. I'll go and do it, but know that my heart's and desire is to get the bill passed. So if I'm standing on a corner for whatever it is, then I'm just like, okay, we need legislation for this, because no one should have to fight to live in dignity. No one should have to fight for healthcare. No one should have to fight for their kids to get a good education. So that's why I'm running. And we're so grassroots, no corporate PAC, no big banks, only completely 100% funded by everyday people, because we only want to be beholden to people when we win. And so that's a little bit about me and our campaign.
Well, that is fantastic. I love everything you're saying. Are there people in Congress you feel like you are aligned towards, and how do you think they are doing right now?
So I would say the person that I look up to the most in Congress is Katie Porter. I love her. I think that she's not only a great legislator and an advocate, and she knows how to present arguments and ask questions to really articulate the point on behalf of everyday people. But when she's back home, she's always in the community. I'm always seeing her in the community. Her community is familiar with her. A lot of the people that support her also support me. And so she is who I really like. But there's also other people, like there's things that they do that I like. For me, I always get compared to AOC all the time. Even CNN, I was talking to a CNN reporter, and she was like, you're kind of like an AOC story. Like, it's kind of like your vision, your passion. And I'm like, yeah, I get compared to her all the time. But again, for me, it always comes down to who's passing the bills, who's being morally just in Congress, who's not making millions off the back of the poor. And I will say one candidate that I'm very excited. There's two candidates I'm very excited about. One is Gary Chambers. He's running for a Senate seat against John Kennedy in Louisiana. He is I think he's killing it. And he's just like a force, and he doesn't care. Like, I literally have been around him, and he says what he means, and he just does not care. And I love him. And Reverend Wendy Hamilton, who's running as a DC delegate in Washington. I really, really love her.
That's awesome. So I have a question, because a lot of people on the left who really loved AOC, who really loved Bernie, Cori Bush is probably my favorite person in Congress right now, have wondered why, with all of the momentum behind Bernie and the across the board, across the spectrum popularity of all of his policies, really, Republicans, independents, obviously Democrats, why they haven't tapped their grassroots activist base to help do that inside outside strategy so that we can affect more legislation. And it feels like that's been missing right now a little bit. What do you think about that?
I think a couple things. I have talked to some of the people that you've mentioned. I have talked to other city members of Congress, people, local elected officials. And oftentimes what I hear is once you get there, it's very different. I hear that all the time, that the things that you think you're going to do, that you're not going to be able to do. Otherwise, you might not get reelected. And I think we have to get bold enough to risk our seats. I think we have to be bold enough to risk our seats. And I am. That's why I'm very, very transparent about what I stand for, what I don't stand for. I pushed against Nancy Pelosi when she said, "Thank you, George Floyd, for dying." I went to Twitter and I pushed back on that, right? So I think you have to remember where you came from. And I think you can't be afraid to be bold and go for it. And one thing I will say I loved about Cori Bush is that she was very passionate about the apartment moratorium, and she fought on those steps, and she was not moving. I think when people that kind of energizes people that really do support our policies. I also think it's really important that we need bipartisanship. I think we have to be able to talk to people across the aisle, find common ground. So in that space, I think we have to be conscientious of our rhetoric, because when you attack people too much, then they don't want to work with you. And so I think because bridges were burned, it makes it hard to work with other people. And I think having your town halls, your local town halls, and keeping it the grassroots feel has to be a priority when you are in office. I know it's hard, but you know what? If you can run for office and get there, you can do that. I really feel that way, because there's nothing harder than running for office. So I can't speak for them. I just know how I would be when I get in office. I just know that has been told to me, it's like really, really hard because you lose committee assignments and you get penalized, etc. So you have to be willing to risk things, but then go to social media and be like, this is why I was removed and we need to mobilize now because that's not okay. It was Katie Porter that went after Jamie Dimon, who is a huge donor, and what happened to her? She lost financial services. Did she not?
Yep.
Right. Do I think what she did was fantastic? Absolutely, it needed to be said because he could not explain why that mom needed to get paid more so she could pay her bills and live in dignity with her child.
Right.
And so it was worth losing that. But we just have to keep pushing.
Pat, I don't want to take up all the questions. You want to say something or ask a thing?
Well, I just want to say I appreciate that you come from a teaching background. My dad was a teacher, taught his whole life. And no, I know nobody goes into teaching for money. I mean, you'd have to be an idiot to go into teaching for money. If you do, usually at least you become a principal first and you're exiting running for Congress. So that gives me hope. I mean, I think the inside outside strategy that AOC had and a lot of the squad have, we haven't seen enough of the outside and we're hoping to see more of the outside. So harnessing the grassroots movement we have, like when AOC first got to office, she shined a light on a lot of the democratic processes that were wrong. And I don't feel like we're getting as much of that from her now. And you're not here to criticize AOC. I mean, obviously, she's an ally and should be to you, at least at this point as a candidate. But what is your connection to grassroots movements on the outside? I mean, can you explain that to people? Like how can we trust that you're going to keep up? Just your word. I mean, just give us give us a commercial here.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to give you a commercial. I'm going to give you the truth. And I think what you're asking is very reasonable. I think that there is there's this lack of trust between supporters and like they are, giving you money, they're volunteering, sacrificing their time to put you in office in the hopes that you're going to vote correctly, you're going to do the right thing. So what you're asking is absolutely reasonable. And what I tell people is, for me, and this is just straight Aarika Rhodes, is that the person that I do not want to disappoint more than anyone in this world is my dad. And he will not retire until after this whole part of my life is over, one way or the other. And for me, he said to me, I kid you not, he's like, I'm going to donate $1 to your campaign. When he did, I'm going to donate, when I first started, I'm going to donate $1 to your campaign. When you get the support of your community, I'll donate more. And then when you get more, then I'll donate more. It wasn't until December of 2021, or I think maybe November of 2021, where my mom and dad became a $5 recurring donor. Not only because that's what they can afford, but that's what they're like, because you need your community. And then my dad said to me when he became a recurring donor, he's like, you will disappoint me and shame me if you do not keep the words that you are telling these people that are also giving you $1, $5, $10, $25. That will be shameful. So you need to you have to have integrity and keep your word. And for me, that is the ultimate disappointment. And so just in fear of my dad and the sacrifices that they made is why I will always keep my word in Congress, because at the end of the day, I want to look him in the eyes, look my mom in the eyes. And on a very serious note, I have former students that work on my campaign that I taught in the classroom. And I would be the worst person if I went against them. People, because I get emotional. It's like, I would be like, that would be horrendous if my own students who have helped me get into Congress, I let them down. They were in my classroom before I even decided to do this. So that's how I'm going to be what I'm going to be, like what I'm going to do, what I say I'm going to do in Congress. And also I have integrity and morals and values, and I live by that. And that's very important to me. So I just want you to,
I love
why.
That. I love that. That's a great answer. And, I think it's a thing that's often clipped from that Bring Down the House. Now I can't remember the title of it, where AOC said, like, the most dangerous person in Congress is a one-term congressperson because you have no fear if you're not reelected because you came there to do a job and represent your community.
I feel like we need at least one person that really goes balls to the wall and says, I'm going to intentionally not get reelected. Like, I'm just going to really go in there as a Democrat and expose everything, which is not.
And that's the person who would be elected over and over, like FDR, right? Like, I mean, not that he was perfect, but yeah. Well, I love all that. Is there any like specific, I know we saw a rundown of, all of your policies, and they're all ones that we support and advocate for. Also, is there any one thing right now? Let me ask you, because I know, I know I'm not trying to put you on the spot, and I know
be on the spot. You're good. You're good. This is a safe space. You're good.
I am looking at the Biden administration right now handing over our country to the far right and Trump and DeSantis and all those people. I mean, we're going to lose everything in 2022 and probably 2024 if the polls are, right. And unless things change dramatically. But I also I think he's been incredibly ineffective. He didn't fight for his own Build Back Better agenda. Progressives in Congress fought so much harder for him for that than he did. And now they're being blamed for his horrific polling numbers. What is your feeling about third parties? And I don't know. I think a lot. So I guess this is my long way of saying a lot of people on the left are so deflated. Like, I felt all the hope in my veins up until Bernie was crushed. And then there were a series of events after that with some of the squad members that felt like they were working in tandem to protect themselves, to vote for things that they knew wouldn't pass or against things that they knew would pass. So that, it's that whole like whack-a-mole, the rotating villain, but on a different kind of villain level of them protecting each other to get just enough progressive or left cred and then vote to fund the Capitol Police or to vote, or how do you fight against that once you're there? Because it is hard.
It is hard. And, again, I'm going to refer to having conversations with these people. Not every single person you mentioned, but just people in Washington. And you're asking, how do you have the will to make the hard votes? You make the vote. you just have to cast it. And that's what leadership is. Like, the best leaders are ones that stick their neck out, that are willing to lose it all for what they believe in. And so for me, you have to just cast the vote and take the heat. I get crucified every day on Twitter for something. I get praised on the same topic as well, so it's like damned if you do, damned if you don't. So then you might as well just go ahead and fight for what you believe in and vote for what you believe in. That's the first thing. In terms of, re-energizing, people, I think we got to get more people in. And, change takes time. It's not a fast process. It's you got to get more people in. We have to keep plugging away, and it's always going to be 3 steps forward, 10 steps back. But you have to keep going.
Transferring money to the top 1%, and then that happens like that. That's the thing that I think is so frustrating, right?
Is the money?
Well, we're all told to wait. Incremental, small steps. But the policies that you fight for, that the squad wants, that Bernie wants, those are so popular. And
they're so popular.
The aisle is reaching across with people in Congress who are being funded by Wall Street and the military-industrial complex.
So the fight, and I've been saying this for months, the fight has to start with the system, and that's campaign finance reform. Imagine if we just had publicly funded elections where all this money doesn't even matter, and what keeps someone in that seat is their ability to go be out in their community. Like, I was rushing here from protesting with the climate change. You know, there was like 60 kids at the day that they did the climate justice school walkout on a corner. I skipped at a very important meeting to pull over and protest with those kids, right? And so if we prioritize, this is what I've been saying forever, prioritize campaign finance reform, term limits, then it's easier to cast those votes, because now the lobbyist special interests are not even a factor anymore. If we had ranked choice voting, so we're not voting between the less of the two evils all the time. You know, it does allow for like maybe an independent to emerge. So I think the fight has to be from the roots. Like, even when I think of like those experiencing homelessness, it's not just throwing money at the problem. Well, where's the root of it? Well, foster care system, because it's like a breeding ground for the kids when they age up, because they immediately get a trash bag, a sidewalk, and a pat on the back like good luck, when they've already been moved to 5 to 6 different houses. They have mental health issues. They don't have government ID. They haven't been properly educated because of truancy. They're not enrolled in trade school. There's like a whole plethora of problems. Right. But the root of the increase in homelessness in our district in particular is that we don't really prioritize foster care reform and make sure the 66,000 kids that are about to be aged out have an opportunity to live in dignity, right? So I think for me, when I think of like the vision we have for our country, the policies we want to see legislated, has to start with campaign finance reform. There's a bill that Ossoff put out. I don't know if you like Ossoff or not. I do. But he introduced a bill to ban insider stock trading.
Yeah.
Well, that needs to also add your family members and spouses. Let's just get real.
Yeah.
But why are only 5 people signed on to that?
Yeah.
That tells you everything you know about the corruption up in that place.
Right.
Only 5 of y'all will sign on to that bill? I would have been like, where's that? Let me get on that. Yeah. Right? Like, so I think, so that's why I keep saying we got to get the big money out of politics. Then everyone's beholden to people. Then you could push the policies that we know will make everyone's life better. We know what they are.
Right. So that's why I think you said something earlier that I want to push back on, that you said that the squad and the people, they have to be concerned about reelection. And my feeling is, well, one, what you said, like, you're more powerful if you're not worried about reelection. But I also think if they stood up for the policies they ran on, they wouldn't have to worry about reelection. They'd be reelected every time.
Oh, I agree with that. Yeah. I do agree with that. I think I'm saying that that's what they feel like. People in office they're concerned about getting reelected. Right. But what you just said is key. If you just do what you say you're going to do that got you elected in the first place, right. You're all right. You don't have to worry because everyone knew what you were fighting for in the first place. That's why I intentionally said, just cast the vote the way that you want to cast it, and let them get mad behind the scenes.
Right.
Let them get mad. Let them get mad. Yeah. I get mad too. I'll get mad that you didn't cast it the way that we'll both be mad. How about that? We'll both be mad.
Just beware Democratic consultants, because if you get, the closer you are to actually building an election, they're going to send in consultants from the party to steer you towards winning. And winning is going to include backing off of Medicare for all, backing off of, defunding the police, or, they're going to push for narratives that aren't true. They're going to have studies and they're going to put in front of you about how you're going to lose this certain demographic of voters if you don't support this. And they're based on polls that they put out that are rigged to get the answer they want, that are not a true representative of the demographics that your actual voters have. So just beware of that. That's common everywhere.
We've had consultants at different pockets throughout the campaign, and we still do what we want. I think Gary Chambers is like the same. It's like we still do our thing, because the reality is like I'm in the community. I'm listening to people all the time, and that's who I'm running to represent. So, and I like, look, this is a business and we all know it's a business. And, you know, for me, like never doing this before, yes, you have to like get advice and like guidance and stuff. But then you kind of also learn like, nah, it's very straightforward. Just door knock, phone bank, text bank, talk to people, show up in your community. It's that simple. It's actually quite simple. It's just the hardest part. And I'm just being real. The hardest part is the money, because the people that support like candidates like myself don't have disposable income in the first place. They don't have $25, $50 to give to a candidate. And so that's why, again, campaign finance reform is important, but that's the hardest part, is like, how do you get people to contribute to your campaign so you can keep going? Because that yard sign that we put in your yard was a union yard sign, and they're like $12, $15 a piece. Right? And we have almost 1 million people in our district, right? And so if we want to get at least 500 to 1,000 up, that's a pretty penny. Or if we want to run ads. And the reality is, Congressman Sherman has $4 million. And we all know where he's getting his money: big banks, corporations, check cashing, pawn shops, etc. And so, so we're going up against someone that can get a check like with zeros, and we're hustling for every dollar. But
at your mom and dad,
even hustling my mom and dad, I was like, Dad, just donate $25 more in December, because we had to hit that goal. But I also I'm gonna be very transparent. I was on a call with someone, and they said, how about this? If you do X in Congress, I will right now get you 10 max donations. Well, what is it that you want me to do in Congress? And he told me what it was. I'm not going to say it. And then I said, no, thanks. I'd rather go the longer, harder way. And so having the courage when you're a grassroots candidate too, and you know you need money, to walk away from money is important too, because you have to only be beholden to everyday people if you want to be able to do what you want to do in Congress. And for me, I gave up everything for this, literally. I have motherhood's put on hold, dating's put on hold, drain my savings account, max out all my credit cards. I can go grab my canvassing shoes. There's holes in it. I have to go this weekend and get new tennis shoes. And I'm like, oh my God, that's like $60, $70 that I don't even have to buy tennis shoes. You know, you literally sacrifice everything for everyday people, for my students. So I definitely am not going up there to mess around, because I lost it all.
So, do you have a debate scheduled? Are you going to be able to get a debate?
Ask Brad that.
Right?
We've tweeted at him so many times, and he said his thing is, if you win the primary, we could debate. So we got to win the primary, which we can do. We are well positioned to unseat him. We are absolutely positioned to unseat him. So I'm hoping that once we win the primary, then that dude will get on the stage with me, and we can let's do this now, so people know they have a choice.
Well, if he's a coward, you have to let us know, because I will go after anyone who won't debate, even if I agree with them on policies. If you're afraid to debate, you're afraid to stand up on your record, and you have some embarrassing shit in your history. So let us know.
I will.
We want you on that debate stage. We need you in Congress. I just wanted to put my little picture here. That's you on my lawn with my sign. Well, I'm so excited. You also gave up. You sacrificed a lot. You also sacrificed. I know you're not doing our fun wheel where we do lots of shots and talk about what's trending on Twitter, but maybe once you win, you can come back and no, we'd love to have you back on through the stages, but it'd be fun to, you shouldn't have to sacrifice everything.
You when you are paycheck to paycheck, it is what it is. But we've worked out some things to make it a little bit easier for me for financial relief. But people like you're the fact that you guys have a platform and you bring on candidates and you keep pushing, you also have an important a part in this whole movement as well. Because can we always trust the media? We saw this during the Democratic primary, right? So voices like yours need to be elevated because we need other voices because it's so biased.
Yeah.
A lot of people said to me, in the media, local, well, I'm friends with Brad, and if you win the primary, then we'll do an article. It's but that's not democracy.
Not
democracy. It's not. And like what you said, Patrick, you should, we just had a redistricting. People should know their choices. And there's other candidates in this race running, and I don't agree with all of them, but they should be heard because that's what democracy is. So people can have all the information needed to be able to make an informed decision, And so I agree with you, Patrick. And I think, and honestly, I would like to see college students host it. We could do that at one of our local colleges.
Yeah.
So.
And if you doesn't show up, you just get the mic and talk.
Yeah.
You gotta shame them into doing the bare minimum. So
I know, it's sad. So we need regular people.
Well, you are inspirational. I am really pulling for you, and I'm excited that you're in my district. We're so grateful that you came on. We'll keep following you, and we'll have you back on. When is it? June 7th is the date?
Yes, but California, Newsom passed the mail-in ballot law. So this election cycle, everyone will be receiving a ballot in the mail, and so voting will actually begin in 4 weeks.
Oh,
so
great.
Yeah, so everyone will start getting their mail-in ballots, the pamphlets will go out, and then on June 7th is the actual election day when it all ends at 9 p.m. or 8 p.m. and then everyone will wait to see how it all unfolds. But I do want to just mention that in the last 12 years, we have not had 2 Republicans in this race, which means that it usually ends up being Brad and a Republican because people just generally just vote party lines. But now the Republican vote's going to be split, which leaves that second seat open. And that was one of the reasons why, I know we have a chance to win, and just internal stuff too. We know that we have a legitimate chance. And ironically, because of my entire platform, there are people on the right that actually, I hate all these things, but I like the fact that you have X, Y, and Z. So we do have support across the political spectrum. So that we're hoping to get some independent votes and Republican votes.
I mean, I would imagine you will, because again, that was one of those moments that everybody was so shocked by, with Bernie in the town hall getting a standing ovation, or even on the night of the general election and seeing those Fox polls on Fox, all of our progressive, lefty, whatever policies, which are mainstream in the rest of the world, but were popular with Fox viewers.
And you saw what's happening in Texas. They just had their primary. They were victorious in Texas.
Yeah. I mean, people want a dignified life, even Republicans.
May I ask you a question? In your opinion, why do you think it's hard for them to go against the establishment or the grain or the status quo, in your guys' opinion?
I think they want to keep their seats. I mean, when AOC came in and she stormed Nancy Pelosi's office with the Sunrise Movement people, and she was shamed by all of liberal corporate media. They made her feel like you don't know your place, and that's not the way you're supposed to handle it. Why don't you take some time to get accustomed to what's going on? She's not there to get accustomed to what's going on. She's there to fight for her people in her district and the people of the United States who put her there, who sent money to her, all their hopes are pinned to the few people in Congress who have even made any indication that they're going to fight for all of us. So I think it's hard when you start living in that bubble, and then you think, well, I did this. And I mean, I'm sorry, because I do think that what Cori Bush did was amazing. And the fact that they were out there and pushed back against the moratorium. But, then when people were saying to them on the steps, okay, but then what? In 90 days or whatever it is, that's going to expire. And they were silenced and said, just be happy with what you got now. And I think that bubble, as you said, it's hard, you're in with your you're in your workspace, and that ends up being your own echo chamber, and you don't want to lose your seat. And maybe if I make this one concession, I'll get this other thing put through. And I think that's why staying in direct contact with the grassroots that get you there constantly, I think that's the only way to keep you on, not you, but to keep a person honest that like, this is what I'm fighting for, not Nancy. Because it doesn't matter if you don't take corporate donations and you don't take, lobbying money, but then you do the bidding of the people in Congress who do, it doesn't matter. So
I think there's two parts to it. What Lila said is absolutely correct, which I hate to say it out loud.
Just stop right there. Yeah, no, that's perfect. Put that on a pillow.
Well, the piece that I agree with on that is that, imagine any job you go to work where everyone hates you, or you are the thorn in the side of everyone at work. And that's what a progressive that is effective needs to be. They need to go into work and be unpopular with damn near everybody, which is hard to do. And then so the thing the Democratic Party does is they leverage power, perceived power. Like you have more perceived power if you go along with this to get that and this and the other thing. But it's an illusion. You don't actually have power. They will always control how much power progressives have. They have so many levers to do that with. So that's the tricky part about a progressive within the Democratic Party is, you think if I just cave on this one little thing or agree with this one little thing, I can get something else that is more effective for us in the big picture, but it never happens.
Do you like Pramila Jayapal as the leader of the Progressive Caucus?
I don't think she's been very effective. I think that by divorcing Build Back Better from the infrastructure package, that was a really poor choice because we lost everything there. They had already stripped it down, and then we lost. I'm not sure why she chose to. I have my ideas about why she chose to do it, but to be an effective progressive leader, I think that was the wrong choice. And the fact that she still stands by that and doesn't say. Nobody thought, no, I don't think she's effective. What do you think?
Patrick, I would love to hear your opinion.
Well, no, we as progressives said the whole time, as soon as you divorce the bills, it's not going to pass, and it didn't pass. And then so you've got Biden is able to pin it all on two Democratic senators, as if that's why his whole agenda is stalled. If we just elect a few more Democrats, everything is going to work. But we knew this was going to happen. We knew they were going to backtrack on their word. We knew they would find a way to not pass the actual progressive policies. And it happened. So, and you've got Jayapal saying that Biden is what the FDR, the next FDR or something. She's got some really terrible quotes praising Biden at the same time as he's completely failing progressives. So, to not push back on Biden as the progressive caucus is not what we need. We need someone to push back on Biden.
Who do you think should run in 2028 or 2024, 2028? Who, if you had to pick someone, who would you guys pick?
Good God.
I don't know.
Who is the one to lead the charge? Because let's be honest, can Bernie run again? No. Elizabeth Warren can't run. So who do y'all pick to run to keep the movement going? Who's your pick?
Honestly, it's why I'm feeling pretty hopeless right now. The nice thing is, in 2015, I didn't know who was going to be running in 2016. I knew who Bernie was, didn't know he was running. So I certainly think that there might be somebody out there that I'm just not aware of yet. I know somebody just put Kashama Sawant, whom I adore. But there's so few people who really are principled and really stick to it. And it doesn't mean that, I agree with every single vote that Bernie's ever cast. That's not at all, or even I haven't agreed with all of his strategies. So I don't mean to just put him up as the one person, but for a long time, he was the only person that I was really aware of in Congress who was constantly a needle in everybody's eye.
Because I think the reason why I'm asking these questions is because I'm hearing what you're saying. and you sound like a lot of people that I talk to in the community. And I feel like the leadership piece, because you need a leader, you need someone that is courageous and bold enough to lead the charge. But if we don't have it in the caucus, and we don't have a presidential candidate, like who is it? Because so to keep people energized and excited and impassioned and fighting, there's got to be like someone to lead the way, and that's what concerns me the most is that we don't have leadership. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So but that's something that we need to be starting to talk about now, because look how fast the midterms are here. They're here. It's wild, because in 2020 it was like George Floyd, all this stuff happening, and I'm filing, and literally in a couple weeks people are actually voting, and that was like 2 years ago when I started. So 2024 is going to come up. Biden may or may not run for re-election. I've heard rumblings of Pete Buttigieg being the one to run, that they're going to push Pete Buttigieg. But let's say hypothetically he runs for president, Biden. Now you have 2028. So who is leading that who is leading these policies? Who's running on these? Pete Buttigieg?
Yeah.
The
only chance anyone has of winning is someone that has stepped aside from Biden's record. And if you're out there saying Biden is the most progressive president since FDR, you're not going to win, because the Democrats are going to lose the midterms. Everything, his numbers are low now, and after he loses the midterms, they're going to be even lower. So you cannot win unless you step away from Biden's record. So whoever gets out there in the lead calling out this stuff now is going to be there. It's a natural step into leadership right there. And I would like Cori Bush myself, maybe Bowman, but Bowman has been very disappointing.
We're purists here. We're really
can I get your thoughts on a name? What do you all think about Barbara Lee? HUD secretary. No?
I mean, there are moments that I am so impressed with her, and then there are other moments I feel like she is very much go along to get along. I mean, she made an incredibly courageous and righteous vote against giving Bush the authority to go to war, and I will always really admire her for that. And she's been really principled on lots of things, but I don't know that she's the voice of the future. And I don't mean that because of age or anything. Obviously, Bernie's 80. I haven't seen her.
Okay. I threw out her name because I do know that there was talk of her going against Nancy Pelosi for speaker. And so that's why I threw out her name. So when AOC first got elected, her name was thrown out to run for Speaker of the House. And so that's why I was like thinking like you have me inspired actually. That's why I want to have it. And I think your audience is enjoying this conversation as well. Is like we need leaders locally, in Congress, and in the presidency. I think we need it from like top to bottom, all the way down, because even if let's say like Bernie would have gotten elected, hypothetically, he still needs votes. That's why I say the Congress piece is really important. Cinema's got to go. Manchin's got to go. The Democratic Party needs to get out of this like primarying Democrats, because not all Democrats are created equal. Look at Brad. He's got to go. Like he just doesn't stand for anything.
I mean, there's like 40 senators.
Right. So I think as we over the next year, as things unfold, I think we have to figure out who are we going to really rally behind, and who is going to like who are we rallying behind to really fight for the things that we know will make people's lives better. Because at the end of the day, these gas prices, inflation, all this stuff is killing people. I met a student who's like walking. I was like talking to me like, I can't put gas in my car. He's like, I can't put gas in my car. We filled up his gas tank because so anyway. So we need leadership. We need leadership. We do. Patrick, you see, Patrick, I can't read you. I don't know what you're thinking. Like you're like a poker face.
Sorry. I'm in agreement with you 100,000%. I just have so little trust left in these in electoral politics that I think progressives just get crushed within the Democratic Party, which is not to say you're going to, but we need somebody to get in there and call it all out. And God bless you. I hope that's you.
You know, I hope I can make you proud. I really do, because like I see you're deflated. I see so many people that are just so deflated and don't have any trust in our elected officials. I don't even have trust in these people, because like, I've been on calls with them and they're bad on both sides. I'm like, oh, so y'all really don't want change? You're just saying that, okay? Like I get off the call because it's just such a waste of time, and then I don't have time for my time to be wasted, first and foremost. And so I'm looking at Patrick and I'm just like, oh my God, like we need to gain someone now.
I'll drink a Red Bull or something.
Yeah, but you know, we got to keep having these conversations and doing the good fight. I would like to also see climate, like Biden expunge some nonviolent drug offensive records. I would love to see climate change be more of a topic. You know, I read that when Bezos went to space, they spent it was 211 minutes, like the media spent 211 minutes that one day of him going to space, and climate change had 244 minutes the entire year. Do you guys not know we're in a drought? Like, do you guys not see these wildfires and all this stuff happening? I need to see Biden talk about that.
He He's approved more drilling permits than Trump did. I mean, you know, he's not a climate person. He's not an FDR. He's not an A progressive. He's a disaster. And honestly, on some level, and I loathe Trump. Since the 80s, we've known who Trump is, you know? But I feel like Biden's giving Trump a run for his money on how disastrous he is for our country.
Well, we're 32. Thank you though. Well, I know what I want to see championed in Congress, and I know what I plan on doing. And I just want to, because you are in my district, I always have to give a shout out to our D and deaf community. We have the largest deaf community in the country. And during the pandemic, that community got hit really hard. It was a very hard time for our deaf community. I learned sign language when I was in college to advocate for a college classmate, because they cut her interpreter hours and minutes, and she relied on note takers. And I'm thinking, but she pays full tuition, so she can't access the curriculum because y'all don't want to get her the full interpreter hours. Like, that's asinine. I was so pissed. And so I learned sign language as much as I could. And I mean, it's hard. It's like I learned as much as I could. But our platform is very much big on advocating for the D and deaf community. We came up with 88 bills that we would immediately co-sponsor when elected, and 10 bills that we would introduce. And one of the bills is to ensure that every elected official, it's mandated they have an interpreter and captions on all of their videos, so our deaf community can have access to everything. And I think, and they vote, they're citizens, and they deserve, healthcare is their number one issue, because hearing aids, that is a big deal, for our deaf community. And so I'm a huge champion for Medicare for all, and making sure that our deaf community gets their hearing aids, their treatments, and everything that they need to be able to contribute to society. So anyway, I just want to make sure I plug that, because that's what I do.
That is wonderful. Your energy is infectious.
Thank you.
You're a joy to be around. And
thank you.
You can come back anytime. Aarika Rhodes for CA 32. Go check her out. We'll put your website in our, in the description also.
Thank you so much for having me, guys. You guys are amazing. Keep the good fight up. We got this.
Thank
Cheers. You won me over. I'm actually smiling somewhere.
It never happens.
We got Patrick on our side.
Nice to meet you. I wish you the best.
Thank you. Maybe we can get AOC and some of these people to come on your channel. Maybe we can, I don't know if you're open to that. Maybe we could try to see we can get Corey Bush, myself, AOC, Deb Holland or something. Just have a little many. We'll talk offline about it. We'll see if we can make it happen. Fair?
Let's do that.
Okay.
We'll all do shots.
All right. Bye, you guys.
Thanks so much. Well, that was fun. She has so much great energy. She makes me want to vote again.
She had 10 times my energy.
Cast a vote for Aarika. I will absolutely, and I will become a recurring donor also because I need to keep my hope alive. Hope is a scarcity in my home these days.
I just want to say I respect that she was asking us questions. She was,
because
we were being kind of, softballish, whatever, but she wants to know, she wants to connect with the left. So that's important.
I think it's great. I think, the dialogue and the interest and the passion are there. So let's just, and you, just like her parents, we're here to keep everybody honest. That's the point.
All right. Well, that was supposed to be 20 minutes. So
that was supposed to be, I know, but it was so much fun. We kept going, but now we got the wheel. We got to get to it. I need shots. I had 2 drinks what? You're not going to do the wheel with me?
Oh, let's transition to shots and the wheel.
Yeah.
But everyone should know we're going to probably go extra half an hour or something here.
So grab some drinks. Come on in. Let's do it. Let's go.
Let's hash it out. Are you properly liquored? Are we ready?
All right. I see Ware asked a question earlier that I was trying to get to, and then things started going through too quickly about Coda, which I think I saw Aarika post something about it. The movie Coda, which I loved also.
The movie Coda, I have no idea what that is. Is this a cool person thing? Because it's cool.
It just won the bet. You probably missed it because of the slap, but there was an award ceremony the other night.
Okay. Oh, I thought the slap was all that happened at that.
And that was the whole deal. All right, let's take a look. What do we have on our wheel? We got bumbling Biden, the Oscars slap, because the kids say that slaps when something's cool. You get it. So long, COVID, Ukrainian damage, brain damage, and a special place in hell.
Oh, I'm looking forward to that one.
Me too.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah, baby.
Yes, that is the way every show should start. For God's sakes, get me my shot.
Yeah, I think we talked about initiating like something positive to take a shot in the beginning of the show for. So maybe we should do that next time, but cheers. Oh, and it's teasing me with special place in hell.
It's a double whammy for a shot.
Mm.
Pour one out for that ghoul. Kika's making fun of me. Slap. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, baby.
Sake bomb. There it is.
Oh no. I just finished my second one on a second sip. And now I got to do another one.
Is it me or we have not had a sake bomb since somebody brought that up? Is she already? Is she out yet? Because I know she's stepping out soon.
She has COVID.
Oh, she has COVID. That's why we haven't. Well, that's a sake bomb. We should drink to that. I'm not going to remove this shot just because.
Yeah, don't because then did you do your shot already?
No. Cheers.
All right. Cheers, everybody.
Sometimes I'll be at work and the sake bomb song will get in my head and be in there all day. It's the worst part of my life, but I kind of like it too.
All right, let's spin that wheel. Oh, Kiko is letting you know if you're thinking
I assume.
Okay. Just in case you live under a rock, we'll just give you a little taste of what happened at the Oscars ceremony on Sunday.
I love you. G.I. Jane 2, can't wait to see it. All right? That was a nice one. Okay. I'm out here. Richard. Oh, wow. Wow. Will Smith just smacked the shit out of me.
Keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth.
Wow, dude.
Yes.
It was a G.I. Jane jump.
Keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth.
I'm going to, okay? Okay. That was a greatest night in the history of television. Okay. Okay.
Wow.
I mean, so we don't talk about pop culture much here, but this like leans into all kinds of stuff with what is important to the Academy and the public and the political aspects of it. And like, just think of all the shit that they've ignored that all these actors do. And like, I realize like, no matter how you stand on this slap thing, you're right. Like that person you're against was wrong. They're a bad person. That was a bad person. That's a bad person. You shouldn't do that. You shouldn't be violent. But look at the stuff they've ignored. I mean, like Harvey Weinstein's, like nobody wants to cancel him and kick him out of the Academy, and
Roman Polanski, Woody Allen.
Yeah.
And let's just remember, and I know the last time we showed this clip, they YouTube like stopped our show right away. But Michael Moore getting up, winning the Oscar for Bowling for Columbine and talking about W's illegal invasion of Iraq, and they played him off. They got him right off. He won the award talking about what Putin's doing right now to Ukraine is what we did, an illegal war crime invasion of Iraq. And those fancy privileged libs in the Oscar audience were silent. They booed, and the Oscar producers played Michael Moore off. They played the music over him talking as he won his award. So
yeah, we have there. Should we play it? Or we're going to get kicked off?
Sure.
We play it?
We might. This might be the last moment of the show. Go.
That's it. Nice to meet you guys. Take care.
Bowling for Columbine.
Limousine liberals sitting there. Yeah.
They were booing him as soon as he was saying the election was fixed. Like you can't say that, even though everyone like legitimately it was cooked. I mean, that was like.
I mean, they're going to talk about January 6th until the cows come home.
And these were the lefty liberal fucking lefty all getting in line with Bush because of war.
I mean, it is really revealing what they will stand up for. Exactly. And we've rehabilitated all of the George W. Bush cronies, all of the war criminals, the people who helped steal an election for him. Anyway, it's just fascinating to see what gets people activated.
I mean, Bush is not a bad guy now. I mean, he's got some art. His art is great. He's redeemed himself because he paints, I don't know, victim of his war.
The other thing that was actually really depressing was the post party that Jay-Z and Beyonce held at Chateau Marmont, whose workers have been striking now for quite some time, who asked them not to host a party there in solidarity. And instead, we had, I mean, even some Bernie bros, some Bernie babes, Emily Ratajkowski, I'm going to say her name wrong, Rosario Dawson. I was
going to say Rosario Dawson is out. She's gone. She's canceled. Yeah. She's not a progressive. I mean, you dated Cory Booker. I get it.
We already knew what was going on there. Yeah. But you don't cross a picket line ever. And there are all of those people that they act like they're big liberals and they hold a party in a place where the workers are striking. They could have called attention to that, right?
Did anyone wear a dress saying, what was AOC's dress?
Eat the rich, tax the rich, tax the rich.
At least wear a tax the rich shirt or something to this thing.
Oh, all right. Let's go to our next thing or we're never going to get through
everything. Can we just move on? You're right. We'll never get through it. All right, fine. Please be.
Yeah, baby.
There it is.
All right, let's go.
Cheers.
Cheers.
I forgot to mention I'm drinking some boozy whiskey. I mean,
Oh,
bougie.
what are you drinking?
Bougie.
Bougie. Oh, bougie. Just
I
like
bought
all
some
those
fancy stuff. It's like
limousine liberals.
it's got like it's finished in vanilla extract barrels. Like that's
Oh, do they
top
serve it?
That's
I was about to say a real sexist joke.
oh, that would be awful.
I
What
don't
was
do
it?
those. Somebody will come slap me. I can't even make a joke right now, or King Richard's going to come smack me.
Oh my god.
Yeah, baby.
I feel like we're moving with a pace here.
We're on a mission. And COVID has been over for like months now. So I don't even know why we're even talking about this.
Yeah. So first of all, 30,000 US people have died this month of COVID. And while that's a decrease from February, where 60,000 people died, and January, where another 60,000 people died, 30,000 still feels like a lot of people, 1,000 people a day dying of COVID. And we have no regulations, no protections in place, no masks, nothing. It's all vaccine. And of course, they're telling us to get a fourth shot now. Get your fourth shot.
Well, have you considered that BA2 is more contagious? So that 30,000 is going to go down, right? Isn't that how contagious works? More contagious, so less people get it, and we should all take our masks off. Whew.
Yeah. All right. So let's just, yeah.
We're not even going to do this.
Well, no, I mean, Biden announcing his great job in doing this. We've lost 600,000 people on his watch.
Yeah. So
yeah.
Well, sadly today I was watching The View, which should never happen. Should never. We have the View clip. But
that's for a different thing.
All right, we'll save it. But
you're rushing.
They interrupted my watching The View, which was a complete accident. I just woke up in the morning and turned on my TV, and it was on the channel, and they were talking, and they were blaming progressives. So I watched it. But Biden's whole thing with COVID, they came out today. He interrupted the show on TV and all the networks to say that they have a COVID website. Like, it's 2 years into a pandemic, and you have a fucking website now to have all the stuff on one place. Like, how is that a policy?
I mean, yeah. First of all, too little, too late. Second, COVID-19 coverage for the uninsured is ending. So that was started under Trump, the former guy, whatever people like to call him, who used his executive action, ability to expand coverage under emergency authorization so that any COVID treatment or test was free, whether you were insured or not. That was under him. Now, the next FDR or somebody who gets an A from progressives could have expanded upon that, as we know, by an executive action. And because we're in the middle still of a global pandemic, could have expanded that to cover everybody for every treatment. And we could have just had Medicare for all by executive action. I mean, that is true. And instead, he's ending the thing that Trump did. So how do you think that people who are uninsured are going to go and pay $100 for a test? How are they going to get treated?
And there's no reporting anymore. We're ending all the testing measures to point out, like, I have a crazy ass friend that I had to stop being friends with because he used to, he was an anti-COVID, anti-vax guy, but he was always talking about the CNN death ticker, the morbid death ticker. Well, that death ticker showed you in real time how many people were dying of this, and they ended that, and now they're ending all the reporting, so we're not really seeing the true numbers.
That's right.
They
ended that the second that Biden became president.
Yeah, CNN stopped it immediately. And imagine if all this was happening under Trump. The good thing is the media, the pressure on the media expose these faults within Trump would affect change in a small way. It wouldn't majorly, but
at least they'd be railing against it. And now it's just complacency.
Right. And now people are getting brainwashed. Like it's all about Ukraine. Like COVID's over and the whole story in the world is Ukraine.
I mean, imagine thinking that the US is giving money, COVID money, to Ukraine for humanitarian reasons. When you look around our nation, you see 500,000 people, homeless people sleeping on the streets, 30 million people uninsured. We know that a third of COVID deaths are attributable to a lack of health insurance. So there's no humanitarian anything that we're doing. That's not for, and it's never for a humanitarian reason. We can't even take care of our own people.
We got $2 billion in weapons going to Ukraine right now. So, and we're bragging about, like today, even Biden keeps bragging about cutting the deficit in half in a year. Like is a ridiculous thing to brag about. In a pandemic, when people are suffering, you are cutting the deficit instead of spending. That means you're not spending. You should be spending more. Like a business understands they have bad years because they spend a lot to gain down the road. And our health is gaining down the road. Our government should be spending on our health right now to get us ahead in the future. And we just cut our debt in half. Imagine like being broke or something like in your own house finances. And you're like, I'm going to cut my spending this year instead of like feeding my kid, or I'm not going to buy KN95 masks for my daughter.
Right.
Because I'm in debt and I got to cut that credit card balance down. Like that's what our government is doing right now.
After giving all of our tax money to huge businesses and the defense contractors. So like they found it for that. We've had Well, no. And the COVID money going to cops. I mean, we went from defund the police to giving all of our fucking COVID money to cops. Yep. Like that's right. As a battalion lives matter. Yeah. All right. It's really depressing. Do we have anything else to show on that? Because it's really, the only thing that I think will ever change anything, I'm just looking to see if there's anything we wanted to get to, is I want to say fuck you to Dr. Wen. If we there's always a good time to do that. So she used to be on CNN as the reasonable voice about COVID, sort of saying, we need to do more. She would push back against Biden a little bit. And then overnight, she became the biggest trooper for anti-science stuff. Now she wants people to fly internationally with like basically smoking sections where people can not wear a mask in certain sections, and people that are worried about their safety can sit all in the back of the plane with their masks on or something. I mean, it's ridiculous. That's so anti-science. It's horrific. I think she's still lobbying to be the head of the CDC. I think she wants to replace Walensky. I know somebody on Twitter wrote something about like swimming in the diarrhea section of the pool. Yeah. All right, let's go on to the next thing. Don't you think? We're cracking through it. Yeah, baby. You didn't remove it. What? So long, COVID. All right, let's take it off. Let's take it off. Yeah, baby. Lots of shots still. Now we have shots galore. Okay, this is what we all came here for. It's funny. We've been off for 2 weeks, and very little has changed. Very little. So I'm sure you all heard Biden announcing, and remember, if he says it as the leader of the free world, that's policy. If he says it and it's a gaffe, still policy. So this is Biden announcing U.S. policy.
A dictator bent on rebuilding an empire will never erase a people's love for liberty. Brutality will never grind down their will to be free. Ukraine will never be a victory for Russia, for free people refused to live in a world of hopelessness and darkness. We will have a different future, a brighter future, rooted in democracy and principle, hope and light, of decency and dignity, of freedom and possibilities. For God's sake, this man cannot remain power.
Whoops. Did we just announce that we're regime changing?
No. Just he can't remain in power. It's not a regime change.
No.
It's not a regime.
So there's no pathway to peace when you say we're only here to change regimes. That's a problem. And so right away, government officials go into overdrive trying to clean up that mess. But that's what happens when you fight so hard to put somebody who's losing his mind in that incredibly powerful seat.
Yeah, we didn't even have did you see the still shot of his talking points card?
Oh, yes.
It's like,
yeah.
His talking points card was like, this because this. I mean, it was like 3 things. It's not even like when you see a normal presidential talking points card, even Trump's had like 20 things and responses. His was like 4. It was a question, answer. Like, keep it fucking simple. But here's the regime change stuff, aftermath.
Are you worried that other leaders in the world are going to start to doubt that America is back if some of these big things that you say on the world stage keep getting walked back?
What's getting walked back?
It made it sound like, just in the last couple days, it sounded like you told U.S. troops they were going to Ukraine. It sounded like you said it was possible the U.S. would use a chemical weapon, and it sounded like you were calling for regime change in Russia, and we know...
None of the 3 occurred.
None of the 3 occurred?
None of the 3.
Mr. President?
You interpret the language that way. I was talking to the troops. We were talking about helping train the troops that are the Ukrainian troops that are in Poland. That's what the context. I sat there with those guys for a couple hours. That's what we talked about.
And when you said a chemical weapon use by Russia would trigger a response in kind?
It will trigger a significant response.
What does that mean?
I'm not going to tell you. Why would I tell you? You got to be silly.
The world wants to know?
The world wants to know a lot of things. I'm not telling them what the response would be. Then Russia knows the response.
I still want to get back to your original words that he cannot remain in power. Can you help us understand, you have more foreign policy experience than any president who's ever held this office. Whether those are your personal feelings or your feelings as president, do you understand why people would believe you, as someone commanding one of the largest nuclear arsenals in the world, saying someone cannot remain in power is a statement of U.S. policy? And also, are you concerned about propaganda use of those remarks by the Russians?
No and no.
Tell me why. You have so much experience. You are the leader of this country.
Because it's ridiculous. Nobody believes we're going to take down. I was talking about taking down Putin. I was expressing my outrage at the behavior of this man. It's outrageous. It's outrageous. And it's more an aspiration than anything. He shouldn't be in power. People like this shouldn't be ruling countries, but they do. The fact they do, but doesn't mean I can't express my outrage about it.
Oh my God. My first thought is the whole like no and no thing. It's like, it's such a learned politician thing. Like, you just say no, and you just move on. Like
it never happened.
Like,
your lying ears are telling you. I mean, honestly, that could have come out of Trump's mouth, right? That felt very Trumpian. Yeah.
Like I didn't mean what I said. Well, he didn't even say that. It's
no, he said you didn't hear it.
You heard that wrong. And those 3 things didn't happen. So we didn't. Okay, technically we didn't have a regime change yet, but like.
No, but he's saying he didn't say it. I think that's what he's saying. The things that you're accusing me of didn't happen. But here's something that, this is happening. His approval rating falls to the record low. This is happening. Trump leads Biden-Harris 2024. So like, there is just no concern from this administration. They're hand delivering us into a fascist,
If anyone thinks that going into the midterms when Biden, he's getting punished in the polls for not standing up for the policies he said he would fight for, right? So people already recognize that it's not really on Sinema and Manchin.
Right.
So they already know that. So that part is baked into this equation. So when the Democrats lose the House and the Senate, that part of the equation isn't going to matter to people. They're not going to say the next 2 years, well, it's just because we don't have more Democrats, because they saw the first 2 years. His numbers are going to, and I guarantee you, Ukraine and Russia, this whole situation is going to get worse for Biden. He had a little bump from like a little war enthusiasm and is still losing to Trump. So in 3 years, when the election happened, 2 years, it's going to be ugly as hell. I mean, like there's obviously he can't run. The only chance Democrats have is someone else, but that you can't win if you didn't step away from Biden and otherwise you're just going to be any Democrat running who allied and agreed with Biden on most of these issues is going to lose their ass. The only chance Democrats have is to run someone truly progressive, which we don't have, to be honest. I didn't want to say that earlier in the show, but I did want to say it, but I was trying to be nice, but
we don't have that person.
She would have respected it, but I'm just being nice. But
no, I know. You know, I'm sure a lot of you saw that today there was a poll that came out that said that the single most effective factor in somebody's candidacy is endorsement factor is if they are endorsed by Bernie Sanders. This came out. This is how Democratic policies and candidates, if you are endorsed, actually, it wasn't even Democratic. It was anybody. If you're endorsed by Bernie Sanders, makes a person more likely to vote for that candidate if they're endorsed by Bernie Sanders. And I only say this over and over because, and again, I know a lot of us, he's lost his shine for a million different reasons. But the policies that he fights for, that we all fight for, are majority popular. So they are winning policies. They are policies that do reach across the aisle of regular people, not in Congress where everybody's bought off, but those are the winning policies. And Biden could, I think there are 110 executive actions that he could take. Among them are canceling student debt, forgiving marijuana, charges and expunging records, Medicare for all, stopping, drilling, declaring a new higher level to be considered poverty so that more policies would kick in for people. I mean, there are so many things he could be doing to be helping the material aspects of people's lives. And he's done not one of them, not one.
And the Democrats are there, but I mean, I want to say they're delusional, but this is intentional. But the delusion they're spreading to people is that the cutting the deficit stuff is going to appeal to Republicans, and that's going to work to, the argument is that Democrats shouldn't be left; they should be moderate, and then they'll win Republicans. And then when we go against Trump, you'll have a moderate sort of Republicanish Democratic Party, that will counter Trump. But that's not how this stuff works.
It's been the losing strategy for 40 years, and we all lose.
So I know I had to watch this earlier, so I'm going to show everyone the view.
Okay.
Should I?
Yeah, let's just do it because we got 5 minutes.
Because I want to make people suffer.
You got to suffer on the way out.
Here's a couple little segments from The View that I accidentally watched earlier today.
I don't believe you anymore.
No, it was an accident.
In a recent New York Magazine interview, Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez warned Democrats that they could be in trouble going into the midterms. She thinks they're still in the game, but the president and moderate Democrats need to stop thinking they can return to an era where a backroom deal with the GOP could be reached, because that kind of thinking killed the Build Back Better bill. Do you agree?
No.
Okay.
No. This is the absolute wrong lesson that Democrats have learned from what happened in the last year. The country is not left of center. We are a moderate country. Independents dominate the electorate, and it's swing districts that make a difference. It is a 5-seat margin in the House of Representatives right now, and historically, it looks like it's going to be a bloodbath for the Democrats if they don't turn things around. Now, the way to do that is not to go pull further to the left and get into these squabbles that give Republicans the ammunition they need for the culture wars.
This Harvard-Harris poll this morning that said that it shows that Trump is leading Biden 47 to 41. If the election were held now, I mean, we have a 6.7 million job growth in this country, which is the greatest in 40 years. So what is the problem? It's the messaging.
It's messaging.
And the Democrat, I think AOC has a point when she talks about this is not the old days when Tip O'Neill would negotiate with Strom Thurmond. Those days are whatever it was. I don't remember. But those days are gone.
But she also wants President Biden to rule by executive order, which is not how our system works.
But he has to. He can't.
No, he
you
does
can't
not.
build consensus with crazy people.
I did ask that question when we were talking about
voters,
election results and how to fix the voting system. And I suggested that that's what he should do. And Governor Warnock, Senator Warnock, said he is not a king. And if in fact, what most of this messaging is coming to us through newspapers and through online places, I don't listen to them. I don't listen to them because the only people who will determine what happens is not the newspapers, it's not them, it is going to be all of us.
Yeah, that's right.
I can't believe I ever used to like Whoopi Goldberg.
So wait, how did I cut off the thing where she blamed progressives? She blamed progressives.
Oh yeah.
Anyway,
that's what they're always going to do, blame progressives. But even in their audience, when somebody was saying, he needs to do these executive orders because this is what he ran on, this is what people wanted, and you heard the people in the audience start clapping. That is what people want. Nobody's going to blame him for doing an executive order that improves their life.
You have the media has propagandized people, I mean, correctly in this case, that like the Republican Party is vile and evil and want to work against you. That's correct. So now that you've got that message across, utilize that message to say this is why we are justified to do X, Y, and Z.
That's right. And a reminder, I love to show it. Those are all majority popular policies. And these are a list, and we'll go through them another time, of all of the different, or a handful of the executive actions that Biden could take that would improve people's lives. And, the one time that Biden was really popular at the beginning was when he sent out the checks and then with the child tax credit. People were getting material benefits, right?
Yes, which they inappropriately said would cut child poverty in half, which it didn't, but it did cut it by their own standards in 30%.
Yeah.
The reason it was only 30% is because the polling or whatever, the study that looked at it included raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour, which didn't happen. And then they were like, oh, it's going to still do it anyway, which it didn't. So, but it did do it to 30%, but then that policy lapsed, and now we're back to Biden.
And now we're back to austerity and bragging about cutting the
deficit cuts. For fuck's sake. We're bragging about cutting spending in a pandemic while we're losing all testing. We got fucking all the CDC people on TV saying, oh, you should just go fly on a fucking plane and there'll be like a section of people with masks and not masks. Like the most so people see this. Everyone sees this. Like it's going to cost Democrats exponentially in the midterms, which is going to cost them ridiculously in the 2024. In 2024, the midterms are only going to be like the start of the bloodbath.
Yeah. And again, like no matter who wins, we all lose. We really do, because they're just going to keep fighting about, red team, blue team, and all of these policies that we, and the one good thing is that if a Republican comes back in, then, Democrats will start talking about Medicare for all again. Hey, it's an hour and a half in. It is a shell game. We got to go.
Fair enough.
But we will be
I could
here
drunk
next
rant.
week.
I'm just starting to feel comfortable drunk ranting.
We're so excited to be back with everybody. I missed you guys so much. We'll be back next week with the Vanguard guys. The Vanguard guys are going to come on the show next week. Thank you to Aarika Rhodes for being with us today. We are following your campaign closely, and thank you guys all for tuning in this week. Cheers. Keep punching up. There's a lot of punchable faces.
That's true. And COVID's not over. Be safe. Please.
Wear a mask.
Cheers.
Cheers, everybody.
Adios.
Bye.
Wait, I have to hit the outro.
Play us off? We forgot all our stuff.
I'm going to keep us on for another half an hour because I never want this to end. All right,
I'm finding it. Bye, everybody.